Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So on day 18 of AWS series, today we are going to discuss about VPC endpoints and we will also see a live demonstration. So let's understand first what is VPC endpoint. So at AWS VPC Endpoints lets you privately connect your VPC to AWS services without going through the public internet. Let's understand from one example. Suppose you have a EC2 instance in your private subnet and there is no internet access. Now you want to access your S3 bucket from your EC2 instance which is on private subnet. So how you can access it? There are multiple ways, like either if for that basically you have to allow internet access. So the very first thing, you can allow internet, you can attach internet gateway, like you can add a route to internet gateway, or you can use a NAT gateway. Or third, if you don't want to use any internet gateway or NAT gateway, you want a secure private communication from your S3 service to your private EC2 instance, then you have to create a VPC endpoints. That is the basically whole purpose of VPC endpoints. So basically it's create a secure tunnel between the services which you want to access, or basically you want to connect. So here I have given another example. Imagine this: you have a private room in a big building. Normally, if you want to send a letter to someone in another room, it must go outside the building and come back in, even if it is in a same building. So what does it mean? That, like, basically this example I have taken from it, like AWS is cloud is a big building for us and BPC is a private room, and we want to send some data from BPC to another room or another BPC, then it, or maybe another service, then it will go through the publicly. So to avoid this, we use a VPC endpoint. So it basically create a secure tunnel between your VPC and the service which you want to access. Now let's see how many types of VPC we have. So there are two types I have mentioned here. One more we have called a gateway load balancer. I forget the name. So the very first is gateway endpoint, which basically we are going to see in a demonstration as well. So this is used for Amazon S3 and Amazon DynamoDB. How it works: you add a routes in your route tables to connect directly to your AWS services. So this is what we are going to implement. We are going to launch a EC2 instance in private subnet, and from that EC2 instance we will try to access our S3 bucket. And here there is no additional cost. Another endpoint we have interface endpoints. So this is generally used for other AWS services like EC2 API, Secret Manager, CloudWatch, SNS, SQS, and etc. How it works? It basically create an elastic network interface in your subnet, and then it connect to the AWS service privately over the AWS network. And here you have to pay for the data transfer and per hour usage also. So this you have to keep in mind. So today we are going to demonstration. We are going to have a demo on gateway endpoints. Maybe in another video we will create a demonstration for interface endpoint as well. So this is what we are going to implement. So in AWS region we are going to create a VPC. Under VPC we will create a two subnet, public subnet and private subnet. So we will log in from our local system to this EC2 instance. So anyways we need an internet access on this subnet. So we will add an internet gateway, and then we will, from this EC2 instance, let me open a marker here. So basically from this EC2 instance I will log into this EC2 instance, and from this EC2 instance I will connect to the S3 bucket using the VPC endpoints. So let's see what all the challenges we will face while we do this particular setup. So I'll come to this slide little later. Let me go to my AWS console first. So let me again open a diagram which we have to follow. So the very first thing, I'm going to create a VPC in my AWS region. So I'm on Asia Pacific Mumbai region. So let me go to VPC. There are few things which you have to keep in mind while you set up this VPC endpoints. So let me create first VPC. So I will use VPC only, and here let me give a name demo VPC, and CIDR range I will use 10 series, which is very common, and I use in my all my videos this particular range. Okay, /16, and let me create a VPC. So we have created a virtual private cloud. Now we need to create a two subnet, one private and one public subnet. So let me select my VPC. Here I will give a name public subnet, and availability zone I will choose a first one, and here I will give a range 10.0.1.0/24. Now let me create a subnet. Now let me create another subnet which is for a private subnet. So private hyphen subnet, and here again I will choose the availability zone first one, and here I will change the CIDR block 2.0.24. So we have two range, 10.0.1.0 which is public, and 2.0 which will be private. So let me create a subnet here. Okay, so we have two subnet, public and private. Let me edit a private subnet. So here I will enable a auto assign public IP address as well. So when we launch a EC2 instance, we will have a public IP address. Okay, now next thing what we need to do, let me go back here. So we have created a VPC, we have created the two subnets. Now we need to create an internet gateway so we can connect to this EC2 instance, which we will set up on public subnet. Let me do that. So I'll create an internet gateway. Let me give a name my IGW, and let me create it. Now we need to attach a VPC to this internet gateway. So we have only one. Let me attach it. Okay. So this is also we have completed. Now we need to add a route tables to allow traffic through the internet. So let me go to my route tables. Okay, so we have not created a route table set. We have default one which we are not going to use. So let me create another two route table, private route table, and here I will choose my subnet, and I will create another route table which is for a public route table. So let me give a name public route table, and here again I will choose my VPC, and let me create route tables. Okay, so now we have two route tables for each subnet, private and public. Now let me add a route for internet gateway. Okay, before that we need to associate a subnet as well. So let me do this. So for public subnet, let me reconfirm it. Okay, public route table. Let me cancel it. Let me go to subnet association, edit subnet, and here I will add public subnet. And same time I will add a route here also, so we can connect to this EC2 instance. Let me select internet gateway, and let me add it. Okay, so this is completed. Now let me go to another route table, private one. So here I will associate my subnet, which is private subnet. Okay, so let me go back to my route tables. So we have not allowed any internet for this private subnet because we have not attached any internet gateway from this private subnet. Okay, so now next thing what we will do, we will launch an EC2 instance. Okay, before that let me create a S3 bucket as well. So here I will go for S3. So I'll go for general. Okay, so we already have a S3 bucket test-se. So we will use this S3 bucket only. So let me go back and let me launch a EC2 instance. Okay, so I'll click on launch instance. So we will launch two instances, one in public subnet and another in private subnet. So let me give a name here for easy identification, public EC2. and I will choose my image as a U12. Okay, now let me generate a new key pair here. So let me put a name demo key. Okay, in network settings, this is we are going to create for public EC2. So let me select my VPC and subnet, public subnet, that is fine. And let me launch the instance. Okay, so now let me create another instance for private subnet. So let me give a name private EC2, and here I will select U12 as my AMI. Okay, so let me, okay, it's loading. Okay, so in key pair I will use my demo key pair file, and in networking settings I will select my VPC, and here I will select my private subnet, and you can see auto assign public IP address is disabled. So now let me launch the instance. So let me go back to my image. So we have completely set up this particular part. Okay, so now what next we need to do? Let me launch the EC2, sorry, let me access the public EC2 instance first. So let me go here and let me refresh this screen. Okay, so we have two public and private EC2. First I will open my command prompt where I have my private key file. Okay, so I have opened my command prompt. So now let me click on public EC2 and let me click on connect. So here I will copy a command and I will run it. Okay, so now we have logged into EC2 instance. Okay, from here we will try to list our S3 bucket which we have, or which we already have. So for this I will run a command AWS S3-ls. So the very first warning we are getting, AWS command not found. So we have to install AWS CLI on this. So for this I have already documented these steps. So let me open my wiki page. Okay, let me go to demo and let me go to wiki page. Okay, so let me run this command first. So basically we are adding a repo here. Okay, let me go to my command prompt. Okay, now let me unzip this package. Okay, let me open here. Okay, so unzip command is not installed. Let me copy it and run it. Let me clear the screen as well. Now again I will copy this command and run it. Okay, so next I will install the AWS CLI from the package which we have downloaded. Okay, if I'll clear the screen, if I'll run now AWS --version, so it means now we can see we have successfully installed AWS CLI. Now let me run AWS S3-ls. So we are getting one error, unable to locate credentials. You can configure credential by running AWS configure. So what we will do, we will create a AWS role for to list or to read S3 buckets. So for that, let me go to my console here, and before moving to create a role, one more thing I just want to highlight here. this particular EC2 instance we have on public subnet. So if we will not create a VPC endpoint, still we can access our what is called S3 bucket from here, because that is public, but from private we cannot access. So let me quickly show you. First let me create a role first. So let me go to IAM. I think I already have a role. Let me create another role. Okay, so we have 7 roles. Okay, let me see. Okay, so we have a role called EC2-S3 read only. So if I'll edit this role, so this role basically we have to attach on both of the EC2 instance. So basically our EC2 instance will have access on S3. So this is the policy name which we have attached. If you want to create another role, sorry, then what you have to do, sorry, let me go to roles. Let me create another role first. So let me choose the service type AWS, and here use case I will choose EC2, and let me click on next, and here I will search for S3, and here you can see Amazon S3 read only access. Let me select this, and let me click on next, and we can give a name EC2 S3 access, and let me hit on create role. Okay, so role EC2-S3 access has been created. Now this role we have to assign to our EC2 instance. Okay, so for that let me go to my EC2 instance. And let me select my public EC2 instance first, and here action I will go with security and modify IAM role. So here I will search for EC2 S3 access, and let me update the role here. So this role we have added on public EC2 instance. If I open my command prompt, and if I'll again run the AWS S3 ls, now we can see the name of our S3 bucket which we have in our AWS. Now let me do one thing. Let me assign this role to private EC2 as well, and let's see if we are able to list the S3 bucket or not. So let me select my private EC2 instance. Let me go to action, and under security modify IAM role, and let me select my role here and update IAM role. So basically in simple words, we are assigning a permission to our EC2 instance, so the EC2 instance can access the S3 bucket. Okay, for this let me go to connect, because this is the private instance, so we don't have public IP address. For this basically we need to connect from this EC2 instance itself. So let me clear the screen first. Let me run this command. Let me type yes. Okay, so permission denied because we don't have a private key here. So let me clear the screen again. Let me create a private key here. So let me copy the name, which is demo key PEM, because we need a private key to authenticate, but we don't have here. Now what I will do, I will open my private key which I have downloaded in my local systems, and I will copy the key on this particular EC2 instance. So let me copy it. Now let me Control X by enter. Okay, so if I'll do ls, so we have a private key file here. Now if I'll rerun the command, you can see the private IP address 10.0.2, and currently we are on 10.0.1. So let me hit enter. So now, okay, permission denied. We have to give permission to this file. So sudo chmod, let me give 400 and a key file name which is demo key. Okay, now let me rerun the command again. Okay, so now we are in our private EC2 instance, because the IP range is 10.0.2. Okay, now here let me again run AWS S3 LS. Okay, so we need to install the AWS CLI on this particular EC2 instance as well. So let me go back to my command. Let me run the command first. So basically we cannot download the package on this EC2 instance because there is no internet connectivity on this EC2 instance. To download a package from internet we need a internet access. So what we will do in this case, we will go and create a NAT gateway, and from with the help of NAT gateway we will download the package and install the AWS CLI. Then we will remove the NAT gateway. Okay, so let me do that. Let me go to my VPC, and the NAT gateway we have to create in public subnet. So let me go to NAT gateway and create a NAT gateway, and let me give a name my NAT gateway, and here I will choose a subnet which is public subnet, and for this we need a public IP address. So we already have the existing one. Let me select this one and let me create a NAT gateway. So we have created a NAT gateway. Now what next we need to do? We need to update the root table as well to access this NAT gateway. So on private root table, uh, let me open a private root table. Here we need to add a root as well. So here I will select internet, and here I will select NAT gateway, and I will add my NAT gateway here. Let me save the changes. So now if I go back to my terminal, let's see if still we are able to download the package or not, because now the traffic will flow through the NAT gateway, and from NAT gateway it will go to the internet. So let me cancel this and let me clear the screen. Now again I will copy the command. Okay, so I think still we are not able to download the package. For simple verification, let me run sudo apt update command, so we will get to know. So basically it's trying to connect but it's unable to connect. Okay, maybe some configuration we have missed. Let me quickly re-verify. So on private root table we have added a NAT gateway, which is fine. Subnet association, we already have a private subnet. Let me go to my public root table. So here we have internet gateway, that this is also fine. Public subnet, this is also fine. Let me go to NAT gateway. So here we have associated primary network. Okay, BPC is also correct. Let me quickly check a subnet which is public subnet, that is also fine. So ideally we should able to download the package. Now you can see that it's failed. So let me give me a moment. Let me quickly check what we have missed here. Okay, so basically nothing was missed. Sometime these changes which we applied, it took some time. That's why we were getting unable to download the package, but it automatically started now. So now what we will do, we will run this command. Okay, so here basically I have run the sudo apt update command. Okay, so now let me clear the screen, and here basically I will run the first command, and let me run the second command. Okay, let me go back here. So we need to again install the sudo apt install unzip package. Let me rerun the unzip command, and finally we will run the sudo, like basically we will install the AWS CLI. Sorry, let me go to here again. So let me clear the screen. Okay, now if I'll do AWS hyphen version, so it means AWS is installed successfully. Now we have used a NAT gateway here, so we have not set up a VPC endpoint yet, but we have created a NAT gateway for this subnet, private subnet. Then we can access the S3 bucket from here. If I search for AWS S3 LS, so you can see we are getting a name of our S3 bucket here. So what I will do to just to reconfirm it, I will delete the NAT gateway because we don't need it now. We just created a NAT gateway to install the AWS CLI. So now let me go to action and click on delete NAT gateway, and let me give a name, sorry, confirm it, delete. So it will take again a few seconds to delete this particular service. And let me go back to my terminal and let me rerun the AWS S3 ls command. So this time basically you will see we will not get the S3 bucket name because we have removed the NAT gateway. So this is a private subnet. Now we will create a VPC endpoint. So from the VPC endpoint we will able to access the S3 bucket. So for that, let me go to where it is. Okay, under private link and lattice, there is a option called endpoints. So let me go here and create a endpoint. So here let me give a name, my endpoint, and type here I will choose a AWS service. There are many other service categories which you can select based on your requirement. And the service I will search for S3, and here I will choose the region where I am. So if I'll open it, so we have AP South 1. So we have selected here, and here we are getting two options, gateway and interface. So we are going on this demonstration for gateway. So let me select first one. Here we need to select a VPC, so which is a demo VPC, and here we have to select a root table. So we need a private root table because from public subnet we are already able to access the S3 bucket. So private root table, and let me create a endpoint. So it is available now. If I'll go back to my command prompt, now if I run AWS S3 ls, so now you can see we are able to get the name of S3 bucket. So that's how basically we should use VPC endpoints to securely access services from your VPC. Like in our case, we have seen a demonstration from EC2 to S3 bucket. So if I'll just remove this endpoint, then again we will not able to get, or we will not able to list the S3 bucket name. So let me quickly delete this VPC endpoint and let me save it. Okay, if I will again type AWS S3 ls, now we will not able to access because we don't have any endpoints, and this particular EC2 instance is on private subnet. Okay, so it's not working. Otherwise it took milliseconds to list the name. So let me cancel this. Now let me exit from this virtual machine. So I will come back to my public EC2 instance. If I run it here, AWS S3 ls, so here we are able to access because the traffic is going through the public internet from this public subnet. That's why we are able to get a name from the public EC2 instance. So I hope it's clear. In case if you have any doubts, you can ping me over comments. So that's all for today. Till then, bye bye. See you in next video.